A clip was released yesterday showcasing 6 humanitarian workers and staff of the Action Against Hunger ACF who were abducted by suspected Boko Haram insurgents. In the video, the abductees begged the Nigerian government to do something about their release. The video featured a veiled female nurse who identified herself as Grace, speaking on behalf of 5 other abducted men sitting behind her. In reaction, the ACF has issued a statement confirming that the 6 persons showed in that video are their staff, that they're in good condition of health. Now, Miss Grace, the only woman among these abductors and the one who spoke on behalf of the others, also spoke directly to the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, telling them that she's the only Christian among these abductees. Miss Grace also revealed towards the end of that video that Leah, remember her? The little girl from the school that was abducted with others, said that she and another female, Alice, who were not released, were killed because the Nigerian government did not do something. Now, joining me once again, I have Segun Shopita and, of course, Dikbo Olayoku to continue this conversation. I'll start with you, Dikbo. You're a journalist. Recently, just before the elections, information was on social media. There were rumors, actually, that Leah was dead. And the government came out to say she was in good health, she was perfect. Now we have this video out telling us that not just Leah, but another Alice girl has also been killed. We just talked about information management just a few minutes ago, and here we are again. Let's take a look at that video, and then when we come back, we'll talk more about it.
For Nigerians, I beg that Nigerian government should please, I'm begging again, please, do something to see that we are released, because this has occurred before in this organization, Red Cross, where some ladies were caught, Hawa and Zipporah. They also asked to be released, but because Nigeria did not do anything about it, they were killed. I am begging on behalf of all of us here that please, Nigeria should not allow such to happen to us. And it also happened again with Leah and Alice. Because Nigeria could not do anything about them, they were not released, they were also killed. I beg that Nigerian and our organization, Action Against Hunger, should please do something and see that we are released. Thank you.
Well, that's a really, really heartfelt cry to the Nigerian government and the Christian Association by Grace, the nurse. I think she felt the need to put that out there, that certain people have been killed because the government didn't do anything. Somewhat trying to say, hey, if you don't do anything, we too just might be killed. Where does this really leave us right now as a country? Because we already have our hands full with all of the things that are happening within the country. Deepa.
Yes, experts in dealing with terrorists and terrorism will not take what she has just said, hook, line, and sinker, because you were standing behind her. They will have, you can imagine being with them for years, or for months or for weeks. What they will have done to her psyche. And maybe they will have prepared her for all those things she said. Where experts will fault that her claim. What I'm saying is that the experts might not believe that Leah has been killed. But there's something that I have discovered. These guys are at what they call quarter to.
Yeah, wit's end.
Wit's end. And they are looking for everything to hold on to. Everything has failed. And that's why they have done this. Don't forget that when the Leah and about 110 others were abducted, within 2 weeks, 110 of them were released. And they said Leah was kept back because she failed to renounce her faith. So for her to have come out to say they don't release the girl because government didn't do anything, you will have found a fault there. These people are looking for how can we quickly bail ourselves out. That's why they have pushed this video out. You see, when you are dealing with terrorists, especially terrorists that have decided to be kidnapping what you call soft targets, you know that they have reached the end of their game. And in negotiating with them, there are some international bodies and international experts that are usually engaged in this kind of a thing. For example, Red Cross. If you notice that all those people that have been released from Chibok girls to Dapchi girls, the Red Cross and one other country, Switzerland, have always been involved. You see, the reason why it is very difficult in this kind of a negotiation is these guys, the only thing they ask for, more often than not, is release of their people that are in captivity or give us money. And that is why governments all over the world are always skeptical when it comes to giving them money. Because if you give them money, that means they're going to, you are indirectly
funding terrorism.
Mm-hmm. So that is why the international agencies like Red Cross, like Switzerland, always have a way of talking to these guys. Let me remind the Nigerians that when those Dapchi girls were abducted, there's a woman called Mama Boko Haram. She's a lawyer, well-read. But these people have some regard for her. How? He said many of them were just small boys that were just following Yusuf, the guy who eventually formed Boko Haram. She was always giving them food. So it's like she had warmed herself into their hearts. As a matter of fact, when those girls were abducted, he told Nigerians, assured them that she was going to get them. And within 2 weeks, he was able to get them. There's another guy. He's a journalist. Hey, I can't remember his name. The guy was forced to relocate to Dubai. Mm-hmm. Because this guy, just like journalists, you know, you come across some bad boys, you talk to them, you report their story. That was how this guy was able to get closer to these Boko Haram boys. So when the issue of Boko Haram started and then the issue of kidnapping, the guy was using his connection. And the Nigerian military authorities wanted him to divulge the secret of this boy. He said, I can't do it.
The journalists never
You don't, because you are putting my life and then my profession at stake, to the extent that this guy was forced out of Nigeria. So I think it's very sad and it's very frightening. You can imagine what the lady has been going through. As they were standing behind her, she will be remembering what they were doing to her. So whatever this house has to say is what she will say. But I don't pity the government of Nigeria, because we shouldn't have allowed situation to get to this point where a Nigerian, or let me say Nigerians, will pick up arms against his state. It has, because, and interestingly, many of us saw this thing coming. We have been shouting since 2002, 2003, that Nigerian government needed to do something. Wake up in the morning, go to a place they call Lekpodo in Ikeja. I have been shouting. There's a place they call Lekpodo in Ikeja. 10 o'clock in the morning, you will see boys, able-bodied boys, that had no means of livelihood. They will be wearing boxer to come and read the newspapers. These are ready tools army that you can use to do anything. Go to Mararaba, go to anywhere in Nigeria, you will see strong boys that have no future. So many of these guys are hungry. They are trying to ventilate their anger against the Nigerian state because we failed to do something 20, 25 years ago. And that's what we are reaping today. It's a very sad situation. What is government going to do?
Segun, communication. This issue has gone in several directions. We have had the Minister for Information, we've had the presidential spokespersons say one thing and another person comes to set the record straight. There's been a lot of information mismanagement. And not just this government, even under the Jonathan administration, the Chibok situation, at some point, the presidency didn't realize that it was real or it was anything to, you know, any truth to believe in. And it deteriorated to, the, you know, where it has gotten to. And today, Boko Haram is still, you know, operational. How do we think that we can get out of this one? Because these are aid workers. These are people who have dedicated themselves to helping people who are in these regions, who are actually survivors of the Boko Haram insurgents. So is the Buhari administration capable of digging itself out of this one?
I don't think it's, I think that would be a wrong way to approach the problem. Because the problem is not Buhari administration's problem, it's Nigeria's problem.
But they're the government of the day,
Absolutely.
and this is happening under their watch.
Absolutely, but they can't do it alone. So now, as you were talking, what just kept running through my head is, you know, especially when you ran through the history of how this happened and how previous administrations had, you know, related with this problem. I think, to the best of my knowledge, when you benchmark against other countries, terrorism is not peculiar or unique to us. In fact, it's a new phenomenon in Nigeria. This is something that other climes have been battling with for decades, right? But I think it's only in Nigeria that I've seen that a matter as fundamental and grievous and threatening our existential, you know, our existence as a country is being politicized. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we've got with this fight against insurgency. The governments before this administration and this administration have kind of failed to relate with the problem as a national problem,
but you see,
and rally the people.
The Buhari administration, before it became an administration, as opposition, I remember vividly because I was on the radio at the time, they kept putting the Jonathan administration on their toes.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, if they knew, in fact, people actually voted for Buhari to become president, hoping that these kind of issues would no longer be a thing. But they're in office, and it's growing worse by the day.
So what
and
I'm
there's
saying,
also this code of silence.
What I'm saying is that, first of all, the government, this government, like you said, the President Goodluck Jonathan administration refused to acknowledge this threat for a long time, claiming it was the opposition doing things to, you know, make the country ungovernable for them and all of that. That was a mistake. Now, this government has sent information out to say Boko Haram has been defeated. And then it became Boko Haram has been technically defeated. You know, that's politics. You don't play politics with terror. You give information out, propaganda. This war, it's a war, and war is a war on the field, and there's an information war and an ideological war for the minds of people. So you don't play politics with it. You rally people because, see, for you to take on these terrorists, you need the locals. These terrorists, whether you like it or not, still live amongst people. Some of them will live in the bushes. Some still return to Maiduguri and all of those places and live amongst people. If you cannot get the trust of the people, the population, to believe that you mean well for them so that they can cooperate with the security forces, with the intelligence networks, you will fail. You know, we're beginning to make the same mistake as it stands today now. So I looked at that video and I felt very sorry for those girls. I truly and genuinely pray that they will come back alive. The chances are not very bright. So we will be begging the government, do whatever it takes. But like you said, you know, they're in dire straits. Now, there's a new phenomenon happening now, the Islamic movement of Nigeria. That is something, you know, very similar in how the trajectory and the timeline of events. It's almost like we're replaying Boko Haram. And I'm saying, again, it's being politicized. We are building a ticking time bomb. Now, imagine if you had Boko Haram in the northeast and you've got another insurgent group in the northwest, plus what we're dealing with in the southwest and in the, you know, southeast. You know, we don't want the country to go up in flames. So we need to stop playing politics with these things. Absolutely. We're in very dire times. So I'm saying that our government needs to understand that we should send information out based on reality on ground. Stop playing games, stop playing politics and trying to score points. There are no points to be scored. Human lives are being lost. I've got friends in the security forces who tell me that contrary to what we're hearing, if you're on ground in Maiduguri, the good thing is that yes, they've been repelled, they've been degraded to, you know, those areas. They're no longer reaching out into neighboring states. They're no longer threatening Abuja. There was a time when Abuja was under threat. But the war is alive and well in Maiduguri, in Borno State. Maiduguri as a city is probably the only place where you can go around now in Borno State safely. Go any other place, it's at your own risk. So the government needs to get us all to understand this, that we're at war. so that we can all cooperate. We need to galvanize and unite behind the government and tackle this problem together.
Well, it seems the government has a big task ahead of it, even as they're getting set for the next level. There are a lot of other things that they have to battle with. But I want to say thank you to Dikbo Olayoku, journalist, and Sheku Shopitan of ACT Network and political analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
It's always a pleasure.
We appreciate it. Well, we'll take a short break and bring you our plus packages. And when we return, I'll be giving you my take. The Defense Headquarters has stated that its ongoing operation against armed bandits around Zamfara State, named Operation Handari Daji, has neutralized about 74 bandits, arresting another 25 and rescuing 50 kidnapped victims. The Acting Director of Defense Information, Colonel Onyema Nwachukwu, while giving an update on the operation in Abuja, said the operation has been successful and is proof of the military's commitment to ridding the Northwest of crime and criminality.
Since the commencement of the joint operations, the gallant troops of Operation Handari Daji have in series of successful encounters rescued over 50 kidnapped victims and neutralized a total of about 74 armed bandits from various fortified enclaves in Zamfara and contiguous states. The troops have also recovered a total of 39 firearms, which include 16 AK-47 rifles, 1 light machine gun, 14 Dane guns, 2 pump-action rifles, 3 semi-automatic rifles, 3 pistols, and 2,437 rounds of 7.62mm ammunition. Additionally, over 25 suspected armed bandits have been arrested, and over 14 motorcycles were also recovered. In the conduct of the operations, troops of Joint Task Force Operation Thunderstrike were able to identify a number of black spots along Abuja-Kaduna Highway. The troops have so far recovered a total of 38 firearms comprising 11 AK-47 rifles, 1 semi-automatic rifle, a revolver pistol, 23 Dane guns, 2 locally made pistols, and 157 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition, 8 cartridges, 2 AK-47 magazines, 5 mobile phones, and 4 solar panels. Gentlemen, may I, at this juncture, use this window of opportunity to reassure all Nigerians, particularly inhabitants of Kaduna, Zamfara, and the contiguous states, that the military and other security agencies are fully committed to guaranteeing your security and safety. I equally wish to encourage members of the public not to be intimidated, but to promptly report suspicious movements and activities in your localities to the nearest security agency.
Well, it's time for my take. From the conversations we've had today, first things first, the ministers in waiting who are still undergoing their screening, there's a lot of work, we know, ahead of them. This is the last tenure for the Buhari administration, and for these guys who are being nominated to take up these ministries, departments, and agencies, a lot of changes have to be made. Nigerians are watching. We do not want just lip service. Yes, Governor Akpabio is saying he's an uncommon governor, he was an uncommon senator, and he's going to bring uncommon changes. Well, we've heard a lot of talk about how good or promises have been made that we have not necessarily seen those promises being kept. And so there's a task, and we're tasking you as Nigerians, ministers, and of course those who will be sitting on the boards of departments and agencies. You have a lot to do. Prove yourselves. In the next 4 years, you might not turn Nigeria to, let's say Uhuru, but hey, Let us see the visible changes. And for those who are handlers of Mr. President, learn to communicate properly. Speak to us. Carry the people along. It is us that you are serving. And so in service, for service to be understood and delivered, there has to be a communication and properly done. Moving away from that and talking about these people who've been abducted by Boko Haram, and of course, the news story that has emerged from that video of the fact that Leah and some other people who have not necessarily been able to come home from Boko Haram have been killed. It makes us really worried about those who have just recently been captured. It's difficult to negotiate with terrorists, but what does the government need to do to get these people out? And we know that the fight against terrorism in the country is still ongoing. But we need the government to be sincere with the people. Yes, there's some security details you don't have to give to us, but something has to be done. We're worried, but we look onto our government and our security agencies to keep our people safe. And hopefully those who are out there in Boko Haram's custody can get home safely back to their families and their loved ones. And that's been my take. It's been Plus Politics. I am Maryann. Have a great day.